Hello, welcome to Virtual Gaming Table. I am just on a tear right now with trying out different RPG games, and it's been an addiction all summer. And I happen to have two of them I want to share with you. One of them is Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, which I've not played more than just a few minutes um, so far. But the one I started first was this one. It's called Warhammer 40k, or commonly referred to as Rogue Trader. And I'm gonna flip over so you can listen to the music. Um, this is a wild game, and I did a lot of research before buying this one because I'm not a big fan of the Warhammer universe. I do like Warhammer as it was implemented for the. I'm drawing a blank, but it's the. Oh gosh, it's the. Well, we gotta figure this out now. It's the Total War. So the Total War Warhammer. This is a great game. Although I don't understand half the stuff I'm fighting. Like, a lot of the lore goes beyond me, but I really do enjoy Total War Warhammer. Now, it's my understanding that the Warhammer universe that this encompasses is not the same as Warhammer 40k. Like, those are two different things. And then, just allow me to go in here, and I'm just going to lower that a little bit because I'm not able to hear myself talk. Okay, so I don't know anything about the lore, and it really intimidated me, and it started to make me think, well, maybe I'm not going to like this game. I'm really enjoying this game. I've finished the first act, and so now I'm going to come back and play it with you guys, so I at least know enough to not be stupid, but that by no means am I an expert at the game. I haven't beaten the game or anything like that. And at the end of the first act, they're still introducing new things to you. Like, even at the beginning of Act 2, that's the first time we're ever going to experience space combat. So, without further ado, let's just jump in. The hardest part about this is understanding what the heck is going on. And I'll try to explain the lore stuff as I figured it out. Also, just a warning, I call this the JB warning. There are walls and walls of text in this game. So you're gonna probably have to pause the video to read all the text. I would be exhausted if I read it all to you. I would need 30 glasses of water to replenish my mouth after reading everything. This game has some voice acting, but most of it is walls of text. And some people who complain about the game, that is their complaint, and I will tell you that it is real. That is real. Anyways, let's go into the new game. I do have the two expansions. We have them turned on. Don't ask me what they do. I mean, it tells you what they do, but I couldn't. I have seen the Lex Imperialis happening. Like this guy right here. I did encounter him in Act 1. This one here. Don't think we ever experienced this one. Oh no, yes we have. Kibula, the Death Gold Assassin. Yes, I had her in my party as well. Actually, so both of these, you experience them in the first act. That's really interesting, because this Kibula person is one of my favorite characters. So, I didn't even realize that was an expansion. Okay, so, yes, we are going to experience both of these expansions. So let's continue. Now it moves, there's a sliding bar that moves across the top. Everybody recommends that you do normal if you've never played it before. I did exactly that, and I found the game to become... There were a few moments where I was sweating bullets, but most of the battles were really easy. So I'm going to try daring, and I may regret that decision. I'm just warning you now. I might regret it. However, I did think it was a little too easy, and I was steamrolling through the game. And largely I think is just because even though I don't understand the lore or this particular game's universe, I at least understand RPGs well enough that I was doing okay. But with that said, part of the reason why I want to start over is I felt like my characters were greatly inefficient, because when I leveled up I was picking the wrong combination of skills, all those things. So let's keep going. It gives you a warning telling you, are you sure? You know, because if... And I'm going to say yeah. There's some pre-designed people, but only wimps do that. Let's go into custom character. This, of course, is pure fluff. Who do you want to be when you grow up? There's this guy. And the one I chose last time was this guy right here, which is pretty cool looking. There's a lot of, like, it's the universe. It's just so bizarre. It's very, what's the right word? Steampunk. It has a lot of steampunk vibes to it. And my understanding is there's there's the human world, which is called the Imperium. It's run by an emperor who's allegedly a god. I don't understand the whole god emperor thing, but that's what they are claiming. And I don't know if it's like Japanese era god emperor, where, you know, they're calling him the emperor but he's really a human, or if he really is a god. I haven't quite figured out the lore on that part. But the there are these, so you have these ships that you can travel, like, it's just like Star Trek. You can warp through space, but when you warp through space, you're actually going in between two dimensions in this thing called the Materium, or the Immaterium, I think is what they call it. So there's this demon world, just like traditionally we view heaven versus hell. There's these demon worlds, but they live in this other dimension. But when you travel through warp space, you're crossing, like you're going in between where they can influence you. And so these demons can influence you while you're warping through space. And you have this navigator who's a mutant who can navigate through this Immaterium, and regular humans can't. And there's this warp sickness that can happen because these demons are influencing you, and they sometimes cross over. The demons do. And when they cross over, they that's how they materialize into this world, and then of course you have to fight them or embrace them, depending on who you are, I guess. So you have this whole demon versus human realm concept, and then there's the actual ship itself. The engines and the mechanics on the ship have spirits that live in them, and you worship these people, like worship those spirits. This is where it gets weird. So like you see this guy, he looks like a priest, because, you know, they have these things called, instead of engineers, they call them engineers, and they spend their whole day, you know, doing prayers and stuff to the warp engine to make sure that it works. I mean, I know I sound crazy, but that's how this lore is. It's crazy lore. And I'm sure if somebody who reads all the books and, you know, maybe it's interesting to them. I don't find it interesting at all. It's really bizarre to me, and but the game is very enjoyable. And I guess I'm trying to, like, you know, because I was really struggling with whether or not this game was for me, and I just wanted you to, I'm just trying to, you know, be that one voice that says give the game a try, even if the whole lore and everything seems bizarre, because it's not bad. So with that said, who will we be? I think I'm going to be this guy here. And that's it. You can change things, which I don't mess with at all, because this is always the silliest part of a game. Well, maybe we should...
For the glory of the dynasty! For the Emperor!
I don't need luck. I have strategy.
Unleash the storm of macro cannon!
What curiosity unveils itself before me?
Looks like we have a problem on our hands.
I'll make it happen.
We'll do that one. Okay, so the next part, you can see there's a lot of things we gotta set before we can start the game. These archetypes are where you pick your classes, like what would normally be a paladin versus rogue, etc. And the most annoying thing is you have to set all these things before you select your archetype. And so I'm gonna just barrel through to show you the archetypes, because you need to know what those are before we back up and then make our settings. So you can choose a warrior, officer, operative, soldier, or blade dancer. And now that I looked at the DLCs, this is part of one of those DLCs. So I think the original game only had these 4. And then, as you can see, if I highlight one, it tells you which... these are your basic classes, and then at level 16, you get advanced classes, and then at level 36, you become an exemplar. So, oh, excuse me. By the time you finish Act 1, you will be here at this level. You will start Act 2 with one of these. So, ideally, you want a party, and there's going to be 6 people in your party, by the way, but you only create 1. You have to hire the rest. There is a way for you to make your own party of 6. Once you get to a certain point, it'll let you make your own characters. But then, just like every game, you lose the lore of having those characters in your party. I've been trying to play with the characters in my party, and I've been generally happy with them. I am one of those people that would rather just make my party of 6 and be done with it. But I've been generally happy, and in fact, I've been so happy with them, I have trouble picking which 6 to go with me. Well, I'm one of the characters, so which 5 to go with me? I have like, I think 7 characters to choose from, and I like them all. And, anyways. So, if you pick like a warrior, for example, you then have Assassin, Vanguard, Arch Militant, and Executioner. And so you basically want a balanced party. I can tell you that you get all of these through NPCs, so you don't have to stress too much about, okay, which one do I want to be? You're going to get an officer, you're going to get an operative. In fact, I'm going to get 2 of operatives. The soldier, yep, you get one of those, you get a warrior, and you get a blade dancer. So, there is nothing to concern yourself with there. So, in my playstyle, I'm approaching this like I would a D&D game. I want a bard type character or a paladin type character. So a paladin type character would be one of these. However, after studying it, it's really the officer is what I'm looking for. The officer is not a very fight character. They issue commands and orders, and they can give people bonus actions, which is pretty cool. They're a little tricky to play. Sometimes I wonder if I would have just had another blade dancer, if I would just do better. Because these blade dancers do some amazing stuff. But getting beyond, I'm getting a little off topic here. So we're going to shoot for the officer. But there's still a lot of variety in, like, okay, well, how are you going to, build your background and all this other stuff to get to that officer? And then, primarily, what I wanted to tell you is, one of the characters needs to be the commerce character, the one that does the trading. You are, after all, the rogue trader. So you need to be good with money, and then also persuasion. Like, all those classic skills are in this game. And somebody has to do that, and so why not the main character? So if you're gonna have anybody do it, it should be the main. And so that's the reason why my mindset is like, hey, I want to make an officer. Now, with any of these, if you click on them, you can click on this button and it shows you this wheel. It is the most confusing thing, but what it basically means is this is level 1, level 2, level 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And oh, by the way, when you get to 16, you go to here. See? So the game doesn't explain that to you. It's just sort of like, it's visually there, but it made no sense to me. And now it does, of course, after you play it. And then they show you all this stuff over here on the right, you know, like what skills. It's really overwhelming. I'll try to explain it as best as I can as we go. But here's the key thing to understand. This particular archetype, the officer, it values fellowship and willpower. So, you know, just like when you pick a ranger archer class, you know, you're supposed to go dexterity, high constitution, right? Well, that's what this is. And then these are your strength, dexterity. These are your primary skills, and these are your derived skills. So persuasion and commerce are both skills that are based off of fellowship. That's why you see the FEL here. So fellowship, the higher your fellowship, the better these two skills are, which, by the way, are your primary skills as an officer. So fellowship, of course, being the equivalent of charisma in this game. Willpower is, it's sort of like wisdom. And then this is constitution. And then weapon skill is, it's interesting because there is strength in this game. Weapon skill and strength sort of go hand in hand. And ballistic skill, so this is like melee fighting skill. No, it's not. Actually, weapon skill is used for even ranged attacks, but ballistic is also used for range. I take that back. Melee versus range. So, what you don't see here are things like strength, intelligence, because those aren't factors for this archetype. So if we go to the warrior, for example, there you can see strength is a big one, and agility, right? And then I can tell you, like, the blade dancer is very agile dependent, so agility is really big. Let's see, the soldier, ballistic and agility. The soldier is your shooter. So if you want like a sniper type person, you want a soldier. And then the operative is your intelligence. They're almost like your mages and your clerics. So intelligent perception, and I think that covered them all. So this game is not a pure one-to-one. It's like there's no such thing as a mage version. There's just things, there's certain characters where, oh, they got elements that are similar to what a mage would have, or similar to what a cleric would have, but it's not quite the same. Anyway, so we're gunning for the officer, as I said, and so now let's back up.
The best defense is a good offense.
So yeah, so we did our appearance here. Next thing we got to do is our home world. And this leads to the next thing that I did not understand until later in the game. There are features here which you're going to get immediately with your character. So at level 1, you're going to have these features. You'll have this ability, and then you'll have these 3 bumps in your stats and those 2 penalties. So, for example, a Death World person is not a really good officer because fellowship is at -5. That's not to say you can't overcome that. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm just saying if you're trying to, you know, maximize your skills, this is not the best way to go. But then it says the following features will be available after Origin Advancement. What the heck does that mean? Was what was going through my head. I had no idea what that meant. And what this is these are skills that are going to be uniquely available to you because of the world you came from when you level up. So when you level up, you're going to get to choose skills. Sometimes you have to choose very specific, like you're only allowed to choose a talent, for example, which is one of these. Or you're allowed to choose a whole, you know, it's like a wild card, anything you want. And the talents are just one of the many things that are going to be available for you to choose from. So the point is there's a lot to this character creation. So this particular character, they basically grew up on a death world, and you can see the little text there. Once per combat, when the wounds, which is their hit points, by the way, they call them wounds, but it's your hit points, of a death world character, if they drop below 30%, meaning they're almost dead, they gain 20% of it back as temporary. Don't let that word temporary confuse you. As soon as the combat's over, you heal back to 100%. So there is no you need to heal after battle or anything. As soon as the battle's over, you heal back to 100%. So that temporary is good. It's a good thing. Because it's going to get you through the combat. As long as you have more than 1 hit point at the end of the combat, you survived it. They also gain a 20% bonus to their dodge. Now, it says, and armor. Although, and so when they have at least 1 temporary wound from any source. So all that's saying is, as long as you have taken at least 1 damage from any source, you get a 20% bonus to your dodge and armor. This is an awesome fighter starting world. So like if you're making a not the soldier, but the other one, warrior. If you're making a warrior or one of those blade dancers, this is perfect for a blade dancer, to be quite honest. The bonus agility, the strength, the toughness, all these are good for blade dancer. They're also good for the warriors, and they don't need intelligence or fellowship. And this is a fantastic skill for them to have. So if you were making one of those, I would choose Deathworld, and strongly recommend it. And then like even these other ones, this is actually probably better for a warrior than a blade dancer, because you don't. Here's the other thing: you're not going to take all these talents when you level up. You're going to get to pick some of them, yes, but there's a limit to how many you get. So just because you see them listed here doesn't mean you're going to get all of them. So if you're making a blade dancer, for example, they use blades, and none of those are blades. It says axes, hammers, and LAS is laser weapons. So anyways, we're going to get back to... So then you have Voidborn. These are people who live their entire life on a ship. They've never seen a planet or lived on a planet, and it explains that up here. They can reroll any failed attack, any enemy dodge or parry against the Voidborn character has a 20% chance to fail after a successful roll. Also pretty cool, this is a passive skill, so you don't have to do anything to make that trigger. Willpower and intelligence, and then -5 strength. And of course you have some skills with that. The Hive World is a population that's so dense, blah blah blah. They have these gargantuan cities. So this one gets a fellowship bonus if there's 3 or more creatures in a 3-cell radius. I'm assuming near you. So you and 2 other creatures, right? And you suffer a -2 when there's nobody around. So this is a little bit painful. As an officer, you might want to do this because if you're giving other people orders, you have like a range. Your voice can only go so far. So you want to be near people anyways. So you could be tempted to do this. It's actually not a horrible... And you get a bonus to fellowship and agility. And, let's see. This is 50% bonus to dodge. The key thing to understand about dodge is if you're wearing heavy armor, the dodge gets muted. Dodge is something is for a light armor. So the way the game works is heavy armor will straight up deflect or absorb damage. And light armor does not absorb much damage, but you have full dodge capabilities. So if you dodge something, you can avoid the damage outright. But if you do take hit, your light armor is going to do very little to protect you. Let's see. All ranged weapons deal +1 and have armor penetration. Use fellowship instead of willpower. That's a fantastic one. That one right there. Because you're probably going to have a high fellowship with this character. This is actually not a bad idea for an officer. Okay, that's pretty cool if you're going to be like a upfront fighter. So you get 2 movement points. or the character that starts next to you gets 2 movement points. And if you end your turn adjacent to allies, they get 2 movement points on their next turn. Which is weird, because if they're not next to you, then you get -2 penalty to your resolve. Okay, what's resolve? I forgot to tell you that. So every character class has like this ultimate ability, and it costs resolve to use. So you have like this little bar that increases as you do things in the game, and the more resolve you have, the more the bar increases. Once the resolve meter goes to full, one of the characters can do their ultimate ability, where in the officer's case, the ultimate ability is you give another character a full bonus turn. So they get all their action points, all their movement points, and they get to take a full turn for free. And that's what the officer lets you do. So the -2 resolve just means that the bar won't increase quite as quickly for you. So it's not the worst penalty in the world. I mean, at first I was thinking, man, it's going to be really annoying. You always have to make sure people are near you. It's not the worst, because there are officer traits that actually give you bonus to resolve. So it might balance out pretty well. And like I said, you do want to be near other people. It's just a 3-cell radius. So if you're standing in the middle, it means 3 to the right of you, 3 to the left of you. That's a pretty big circle. It's doable. It's definitely doable. This is not a bad idea for an officer, the more I think about it. And the lower willpower is not an issue if you take this one. The reason willpower is important is it's used for resistance against warp effects, which is that sickness I was trying to tell you about. So if you have camaraderie, you can pass all the willpower resistance tests with your fellowship value, so you don't have to care about your willpower being low. This could be good. Let's keep going. So the Forge world is basically, I mean, it's an industrial complex type thing. Forged characters have armor bonuses based on their toughness rating, a locomotion system, grants agility, and an analytics system gets an intelligence bonus. So these are augmentations that you're going to choose here. So basically it's letting you know you can make a tough character, you can make a highly agile character, or a highly intelligent character. The Forge world is actually not a bad idea for your mage type classes. And intelligence, you can see, is a big factor for them, and toughness. And then of course you get these. The Imperial world, this is the one I chose when I created my game. You get this, you get to select any characteristic except for weapon or ballistic and start the game with a +10 bonus. So what I did was I chose Fellowship, of course, and gave myself a +10 Fellowship bonus. Now mind you, you're getting +5 here. The difference was there was no penalty. And I chose this because I was like, well, I don't know what penalty I want in this game because I have no experience playing this game. It's not bad, and then the Stronger Together is interesting. All the allies that's in your party get +5 of whatever I chose for Humanity's Finest. So if I chose Fellowship, I'm giving +5 Fellowship to everybody in my party. So that's the cool thing about Imperial characters. You could make a party of nothing but Imperial characters, and if you choose different abilities, you're giving +5 to everybody else in the party. So pretty cool. And then lastly, there's this Fortress world where you have a bonus to perception and willpower. I would say that this is really good. As you can see, never stop shooting. This is good for your shooter sniper characters, and I think they have some really nice talents for that. Let's go with the Hive world. I've convinced myself to try it. Like I said, I was doing Imperial last time. The Imperial world is also a really good one for Officer. I I actually made the right choice. You know, as I was playing the game, I did not regret that choice. But I'm going to try the Hive World one, and we'll see. We'll try this. Now, when you get to the origin, again, what were you in your past life? So, the militarum, basically, were you a military commander? If so, you get this skill, which then gives you a bonus based on perception. You get ballistic and perception bonus, and then you also get an athletics and medicine, which is healing, right? You get bonuses to those, and then after you level up, you get the opportunity to get these types of things. So again, these are more talents in addition to the ones you had from your home world. So you can see like the talent pool is building. Like you're just building what talents are going to be in your pool. This is the Commissar. You can see Weapon and Fellowship, Crime Lord, Weapon Perception, the Ministorum Priest. So this War Hymn is pretty cool. But see, it uses willpower. So 2 times your willpower momentum. Momentum is what the resolve. So remember I told you need higher resolve to make the bar go up? The bar is momentum. Resolve adds momentum to your pool. So it grabs an additional willpower bonus momentum for each enemy. So this is actually really good for getting your ultimate to trigger quicker. That's actually pretty cool. But willpower is the one thing the Hive World character is not good at. But you can see these are your bonuses. Navy Officer has a nice fellowship bonus. Noble has a nice fellowship bonus. One ally who will become their servant until the end of combat. Anytime the noble's abilities affect the servant, they get +5 to all characteristics. Anytime the servant attacks a target that the noble dealt damage to last turn, the servant gains their 10 plus their fellowship bonus. Critical hit chance. That's actually pretty powerful. This would not be a bad idea at all. This one, you get extra deflection. Now this is the most interesting one. Sanctioned Psyker. This is basically your mage. But instead of it being a class, it's an origin. So if you're a Sanctioned Psyker, you actually have access to mage abilities. Like you can immolate people, like you can put them onto fire and other things. And so you can see there's a big long list of talents here where you can do Psychic Barrage against them. You can, you know, there's a lot here. And they get abilities. So Biomancy lets them manipulate flesh so you can become a healer. Pyromancy, you can manipulate flame, and that's how you can put people on fire. Telepathy, control the minds of others. And Divination, to glean information. And then Sanctic Powers, basically is buffing and debuffing. Okay, so when you create a character that has a Psyker background, you probably want to focus on just one of these, or maybe 2 of them. Like, you're going to focus on healing. I had a character where I focused on healing with one, and I had another Psyker where I focused on fire with the other one. But these are all, like, they're listed as abilities instead of talents. So when you unlock these, like this Biomancy, it unlocks a bunch of talents that are related to Biomancy. So once you select one of these, then a whole bunch of other things become available. So, what does all this mean? Well, you could be a Psyker who's a warrior. You could be a Psyker who's a officer. You can be a Psyker who's an operative. You know, any of those archetypes. it's not limited to. You can even be a sniper with one of these psyker abilities. So that's the thing that makes this game very fascinating. Like, I actually had this vision of, okay, what if I made a party of 6 psychers, where I basically, you know, had each one of them focus on one of these, and then we tried the different classes, because they all get. So like, if you're, let's say you're a warrior, I mean, that's the guy who goes up and is like a barbarian class or a fighter class in D&D. These abilities can enhance your ability to dodge, or your ability to hit, or your ability to critical strike. So you can use these to give yourself buffs. It's almost like a fighter mage multi-class, if you think of it that way. This lets you basically multi-class in a way. It's very interesting how it's an origin and not an actual class. So very, very cool. And then this one is part of the DLC that I now know, because we just checked what that DLC meant. And this one actually is very interesting. It's a particular class that tends to focus on shotguns, which, funny enough, as an officer, I was using shotguns because I'm spending all my points on all my other skills that my weapon skills were not very good. So a shotgun is real easy to hit because it just sprays, and you're spraying and praying, right? So this particular guy actually can master shotguns, and it's a pretty cool. But here's the deal: you get no bonuses to your stats if you take this. Now, I was reading that in Act 2, which is many hours later, there is an NPC that you'll get that is an arbitrator. So you can have this class. This is the one class in Act 1 you don't get, unless you create it now. And I just used the word class. This is the one origin you don't get in Act 1. You definitely get a psyker. You get multiple psychers. I don't get a noble. I get a navy. I don't get one of those. And I think I get one of those. So there's a few of these we don't get. This one, of course, was the one that was jumping out at me. But like I said, you don't get, like we were trying to get our fellowship up, right, with everybody else. Whereas this one makes your fellowship go up even higher. And your commerce, right? So this is good for trading. So if you want to be a rogue trader, this is actually a really good for your skills. This, not so helpful. I mean, it's okay. Like, if you were somehow surrounded by enemies and got yourself in a bind, you could use it. It's a 0 AP thing to do. So it doesn't cost you anything. It's a once per combat thing. So you can. These two are not as helpful. So these are things you get later. And then these are not helpful at all. So all allies. So brace for impact. For 1 round, the Navy officer and their allies in a 3-cell radius, which is, it goes with the Hive World thing, right? You get 2 deflection for each archetype taken by the Navy officer, which right now would just be 1. This is your cover. So when you're shooting somebody that's behind cover, you can penetrate the cover. So here's my dilemma. These skills here are awesome. These are meh. And these are so awesome, meh. What did I choose last time? I think I chose the, oh, I was a Militarum commander. That's what I chose last time. This was not a very helpful skill. basically it says the commander and all their allies deal extra damage to enemies that are adjacent to them or their allies until the end of the next commander turn. It actually was helpful. So basically I was able to give a 26% bonus to everybody's damage, but it's a once per combat ability. That's who I chose. It was okay, but actually I'm gonna go with Arbitrator. We're gonna do that just because I want to try it so badly. And then this one, let's see. This one helps with shotgun. Coercion is a fellowship skill. And you can see it represents the ability to manipulate people, which is good. And then, of course, you're going to get some nice shotgun upgrades. This one does give you fellowship. That's also good. What's this? So you can make enemies critically hittable, if that's a word. Their perception of willpower gets reduced. So this is a big buff and debuff on one creature. And then this one, if you hit the enemy, the enemy does less damage. Gain immunity to prone. All enemies within a 3-cell radius. This is not horrible. What I like about this one is the bonuses are better. Like, these are really nice bonuses for an officer to get fellowship and willpower. And this one looks like, yeah, this one does not look. This is for if you're going to be a fighter type character. So I really like the fellowship bonus. And you get it multiple times. Or we're getting bonuses to shotgun, which is what this is. Shotgun attacks deal plus damage, equal to your coercion. Right? So it's going to make our character actually contribute something in combat, which was my gripe with my last officer. And you can even take extra attacks. So here's the dilemma. You only have so many action points on your turn. And this here, you can make 2 single shots against a target. Well, each single shot costs an action point. Now the armor penetration is actually really good. I like this a lot. I like it more than these, but I like this more. So, are we going to be hurting by getting... So, let me back up. In the other way we played, we had a fellowship bonus of plus 10, because I chose Imperium. Gives you a plus 10 bonus to any skill, and I chose plus 10 fellowship. I am currently sitting on a minus 10 because, you know, I chose a different path. This would get me half of it back right there, and there's the other half. So I would actually get the plus 10 of the Imperium, plus I'd have all these other bonuses on top of it. So this would be better than the Imperium. The only thing is I like... Let's just go with what we like. Let's make ourselves a shotgun expert, and we're still gonna get some bonus stuff. Don't get me wrong. It's just the primary fellowship is not gonna be quite as high. All right, let's do that. And I apologize. It takes a long time to make a character in this game, and we're still not done. Now we have a triumph. So this is something great you did in your life. So we could just take a intelligence plus 5. Well, actually, not intelligence, a lore Imperium. We can take a persuasion bonus, which is probably what we're going to take. Yeah, we're going to take persuasion. Plus 5. And then this is, your almost like your wound or your bane, the bad thing. So -5 to warp lore is totally fine. That is a very bad choice for this type of character. And I never like taking a negative. Carouse is your ability to resist poison and other effects. So we're going to go ahead and do this. This is just a, if you have high warp lore, you get extra chat options, things like that. So yeah, they still have this selected from before. So when you choose officer, we're going to start with some skills here. And then these are your ultimate abilities. Remember I was telling you when the resolve and the momentum. And then they're telling you fellowship and willpower are your two most important things. And your persuasion and commerce are your best skills, which is why we took the bonuses to those. Coercion is also listed even though it's not at the top. This particular character is much higher in coercion, but lower than fellowship than my last build. And then we're going to go ahead and choose that. And then this is where we finally get to finalize our characters. So this is all the spreadsheet, right? These are your numbers. You finally get to see everything that's in the game. So I'm going to go through it as quickly as I can. I know we're 46 minutes in and we're still creating the character. There's just so much. You have to... I mean, if there's ever a gripe about this game is... you need to know how to play the game to design your character properly. And how do you do that until you played the game? It's a little catch-22. But first of all, they gave us 30 points that we can distribute as we see fit. So this fellowship, for example, was 35, which is super low. Just so you know, I had a fellowship of 60 with my Imperium character. I'm going to be able to put 10 points towards this, which I'm absolutely going to do. But 45 is the best we can muster by doing that. And as I put points into this, you can see these things are adjusting. And like I said, this was a 60 with my character. For fun, I might load my game to show you, but anyways, we still have 20 points we can distribute. We'll figure that out in a second. Fellowship, I know for sure I wanted to do, but let's go through the skills real quick. So strength has athletic. And these are your primary skills. These are your derived skills. That's the way I like to look at it. So by pumping up fellowship, I improved coercion, commerce, and persuasion. Which these are your bard skills, right? This is your barter skill. This is your intimidate, and then this is your persuade. That's how I would look at this. So there's your fellowship ones. You can see intelligence affects a lot of these. This is your ability to heal using medkits. This is lore, 3 different types of lore. Logic, there's a lot of logic text in the game. If you go to a computer or mechanical device. Demolition is your ability to disarm traps. That's an agility. Tech use is your ability to hack computers. So tech use and disarm trap, I would highly recommend they be the same person, to be honest. And then carouse is your ability to resist negative effects. Awareness is your ability to detect. This, by the way, is extremely important for somebody in your party. There's a lot of bonus loot that you can find if you have high enough awareness. Like, it's not on the screen, but then you walk by and they notice something in a cubbyhole. It's that kind of thing. In the D&D world, this would be like finding hidden doors or hidden treasure. So it's a very important one for that. And the game definitely uses it. It's like some games, like, it's like, you don't need this skill. This is one that I actually think, it's a perception thing, and you definitely want it. And then athletics is your ability to jump and climb over things. There's one point in the game where your main character had to pass an athletics test. And it was just you. So normally if you're in a party, somebody in your party needs the athletic skill, and as long as they pass the test, the whole party passes. But there was this one situation where I was forced to be by myself, and I had to pass an athletics check, so you don't want to necessarily ignore it. I don't know what happens if you fail. I didn't fail. But anyways, that's... Normally I would be sad that this is so low. This, as you can see, reflects a character's ability to withstand the horrors of the warp. But we're going to take that skill where we use Fellowship instead. So that's okay. And here you can see the bonus is the value currently is 25 because we have a base value plus our origin changed it. And here you can see we gave ourselves plus 15 through our choices. So with the Imperium, I would have been up to 55. I would have added 10 more. So, our perception, and they highlight like awareness here, so they show you if you change this, it's also changing that. I might do this. I need to think about that. Intelligence, of course, helps you with all these skills. There was a part of me that was thinking I needed this, but as long as you have somebody in your party who has those skills, you don't necessarily need them. So this is one of those things where you can't be everything all at once. Like, I'm trying to be this, so I already have 3 skills I'm focusing on. So I don't know if I necessarily need to also focus on all those skills. Like, it's too much. This, I don't recommend you do with this type of character. Your Blade Dancer is the perfect character for this. That I don't recommend we mess with too much, although it is interesting. This is more of a soldier thing. Same with this one, although like I said, the athletics check is the one thing I did have to do. This helps us with your, and you'll notice nothing is showing up here. This is your accuracy. So even if you're shooting that shotgun, it doesn't have to be very accurate, but it's still, the better your ballistic skill, the better the shotgun's going to hit. And skilled marksmen would use this. So the base hit chance for range attacks within a weapon's effective range is 30 plus your ballistic skill percent. So that's the base hit chance. So right now I'd be at 65% chance as long as I'm within the shotgun's effective range. So yes, I can still miss with my shotgun. And then the weapon skill, yeah, that's from melee. So it's the melee version of the ballistic. So if you have a sword or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and do the ballistic skill because we're going to try to be good at it with the shotgun. So we'll give ourselves a bonus there. Then we still get to pick something else. So normally I would pick this because every character needs this. I'm going to choose intelligence because I'm going to get bonuses to all these skills. I know that's a bit much. Yeah, we'll do that. Now this one gave me fits. I was like, what's the difference between these two ships? They don't explain much. And the answer is just the looks. Do I want a ship that looks like this or one that looks like that? It's really that simple. They both do the same thing. They're both frigate class, so they both start with the same equipment. It's just, you know, do I think that's a cooler looking ship? Or do I think that's a cooler looking ship? I actually sort of do like this ship. So, what do we want to call this? Let's call this, I'm at a blank. What do we want to call our ship? I mean, I like Firestorm class frigate. That's fine by me. I'm gonna do it. I know it's blasphemous because I'm crossing over. Actually, to be quite honest, I'm using World War II reference here, not Star Trek. For those of you nerds out there that thinks that this is a Star Trek thing, yeah, we're gonna go ahead. That's the most awesome carrier in the U.S. history, so we'll go ahead and do that. So here we go. All that work and effort. So there's my character. All of his skills, all of his glory. I'm sure I made 100 mistakes. I'm a rogue trader. I didn't have these backgrounds. So these are all the bonuses I start the game with. So this will build, when I level up, see how this has like this long list of talents over here on the right? All those things are going to be available for me to choose from. Then this one gave me a negative war. So this is my my Bane. This is my Triumph. And then of course my Hive World gave me bonuses and stuff, whatnot as well. Okay, let's apply. Okay, I'm realizing that some of you may want to skip the whole character creation. So I'm going to end the video here, and I'll put a note in that if you want to just jump straight to the game, go to video 2, which is what this will be. So thanks for watching. As always, stay awesome.